Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Bullying Me.
What? Bullying you?
It's been about the theme every episode.
Another episode of Ethan Gets It Wrong. No, third try's a charm. Another episode of Bible Battles. Thank you for joining us. We're at it again. We're discussing our favorite books in the Bible, trying to figure out which book is going to be number one. And we're working our way through first and second round, and it's not been easy. We've had some discussion, we've had some debate, and some people do get them wrong from time to time. So let's see how we do today. How's everybody feeling?
I'm good.
I'm feeling like it's gonna go about the same.
I have notes if you want to use my notes.
I'll just see what you're gonna be picking.
I think today we'll actually there's a chance that we have some good agreement, but I never know for sure.
That's true.
So we're going to begin with a battle in the Old Testament. Two wonderful books, but kind of hard books to read at the same time. We have 2 Kings going up against the book of Judges. So 2 Kings, of course, is an amazing book about the kings of Israel and the problems that they had. Two wonderful characters, of course, in the book of Kings is Elijah, the prophet, and the amazing things he does. But then in 2 Kings, he ascends to heaven, and then Elisha takes over the mantle and does some amazing things. But even with that, you continue to see the problems that humanity has, and kings are not the answer for Israel, and things keep going down and down and down in that book. And then you have the book of Judges, which is where Israel has made it into the promised land. Things are going good at the start, and you kind of see these judges who are the leaders of the people, and they start off pretty good, but then things, even with God's leaders, they continue to go kind of down rapidly, and the stories are violent. If you're reading stories to your kids from the Bible, you might not hang out in Judges. You especially aren't reading the last few chapters of Judges to your kids. It is tough. In fact, if there was a movie about the last few chapters of Judges, many of us would,
for sure.
would pass. But it happened in history, and God included in His Word, I think, to show us that humans aren't the answer. And when we look to human leaders, there will be problems, and we need a solution. And that's what the Old Testament is pointing us to, the solution that comes in the New. So, there's your breakdown. What are your guys' thoughts on 2 Kings going up against the book of Judges?
You want to go first so that you can be wrong?
Which one do I want to pass so I can pick the opposite? So you guys will pick the one I want.
Or you can pick last, whatever you want.
There you go.
For me, 2 Kings is more of just Samuel, and then Judges is kind of just Samson. Like, that's kind of what I've narrowed it down to.
2 Kings isn't
Oh my
Samuel,
goodness.
it's Elisha.
No. Yeah.
Oh, Elisha.
Yeah.
Elisha,
Yeah.
yeah.
I meant to say Elisha, but Elijah's more of my favorite one.
Okay.
And I was like, saw Kings, and I was like, oh no. Those are like probably two of my more favorite characters in the Bible. And luckily that it's not 1 Kings, because I like Samson too. I'm gonna go with Judges.
Oh, the Judges, okay.
I
Oh,
like that story.
you're wrong.
Probably.
He's getting used to it now. Yeah.
So we're going through these books all really fast, so I've had to make some notes. So I liked 2 Kings because of all the miracles that are in there. As I reread it, when I do devotions, I tend to go with the New Testament and enjoy reading the New Testament versus the Old Testament. So when I read 2 Kings, I was reminded of all the stories that are in there about Elijah. And one thing that did stick out to me, and I kind of started doing this week, is praying for the spirit of so-and-so. Like, they prayed to have the spirit of somebody that is godlike. And, you know, there's a lot of people in our lives that are kind of role models or mentors for us. And, or we say, boy, I wish I had faith like Helen.
Right.
That's kind of been my prayer this week is dear Helen. I've been thinking about her a lot and her faith. And so I've been praying to have faith like Helen.
And this is a church member that we loved and recently passed away.
Yes. So, and then all of the miracles that are in 2 Kings as well, a lot of them were with women.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a woman, so I kind of
Relate
to that a little bit more. Judges, I am not a history buff, nor do I like violence. So the one thing that is in Judges that I liked was the character of Samson and his story.
That did it for me.
Yeah. So I have to go with 2 Kings.
All right, so we don't have agreement yet. Both these books are excellent books, but I'm going to agree with Jeanette on this one because Judges, just the violent nature. It's not one that I turn to a lot, like, oh, let's get uplifted by reading Judges, though you can. And it ends excellently by saying there was no king in the land, so everybody did whatever they wanted. And so we need a king, but the answer was not the kings, as we see in 1st and 2nd Kings. The answer is Jesus as the king. So I'm going with 2nd Kings because I love the story of Elisha as well. And the book does teach about God's mercy, even though the northern tribes are taken off to Assyria. God was continually showing them mercy and trying to encourage them to stay faithful to the covenant. They weren't, and so problems came. And when we're not faithful, yes, problems do arise. Okay, that brings us to a tough one for me. This is tough because these are two of my favorite books. We have I think it's our first gospel that has shown up, right?
Yep.
This is our first gospel. We have the Gospel of Mark, which is an amazing book talking about the life of Christ, and one of my favorite books in the Bible. And it's going up against 2 Samuel. And at first you might be like, 2 Samuel. Then you realize 2 Samuel is all about who?
David.
And one of the best heroes in the Bible, one of the best heroes of the Old Testament, one of my favorite characters. I love the character of David, and I love the series of the David books that came out by, I think it was Terry Vivash. I'd encourage you to read those books if you haven't. So here we have 2 Samuel, one of the best Old Testament books, coming up against one of the 4 Gospels, Mark. What are we going to choose
How do you
today?
throw out a gospel?
It's tough. It would be tough to do.
What's
See,
Second
the four gospels should just be out on their own. You know, their
Along
own.
with Genesis, along with Revelation.
Someone stop her. Someone stop her.
That's what I came up with this week.
Well, too bad it's not going to pass.
So, in the book of 2 Samuel, of course, it is the story that focuses on David. And what's unique about the story is it starts off David is, just doing great. And then, in the book, he goes down. Just like in previous books, Saul starts off good and goes down. And it again shows us, the Old Testament keeps showing us that the answer to our problems, the answer to sin is not humans. It's not human effort. We need help. And that's what we're seeing. Although the promise that God gives to David is that even though trouble is coming your way because of some horrible decisions that he made with Bathsheba, God says, I'm going to send help through your line. At some point in time, help is going to come. They just had no idea how long it would take for the Messiah to arrive. So that's 2 Samuel. Mark is just an amazing book, one of my favorite Gospels, because it's action-packed. Mark is always saying immediately this, and immediately that, and immediately, and has some amazing stories of Christ. And the whole book kind of hinges on one question. There in the center of the book, Jesus asked the disciples, who do people say I am? And they say, well, some say this, some say that. And he says, who do you say that I am? And that's really the question for all of us to decide, who do we say Jesus is? So we've got Mark and 2 Samuel. What are we going with today, folks?
Do you want me to go first so you can't
Yeah.
go wrong again? So, rereading 2 Samuel, I, again, related to David. Although he did all of these things wrong, there were still consequences. And there's always consequences for good and bad. And he had the consequences for doing the bad things. But there's always forgiveness there too.
That's right.
And so I enjoyed reading through that again and realizing that even though we can do these horrendous things, murder, I've not ever murdered anybody, but I sure have sinned, and we have consequences, but those consequences always come with forgiveness.
When we ask for it.
Yes,
when we confess.
yes. Yeah, definitely have to do that. The other thing that was picked out, or that came to my mind, because we do struggle with a lot of rape in our society, probably more rape than murder, but in God's eyes they're the same. And that it kind of gave me power for when I'm speaking with somebody who's has been raped, that it is like murder, and they have to live with that. Mark, I really liked as I read through there. I love reading about the miracles. I love reading about the parables. And what stuck out for Mark was all it was more of trust and faith throughout that. And but I think I'm going to pick 2 Samuel on this one.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
I
It
did
was
not expect
really
that.
hard. It was
Going
really
with-
hard.
Going with David, okay.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, whenever she's like, this book deserves to make it to the end, it really means nothing because the other one does too.
She throws a curveball at us. Ethan, do you want to
No.
go? Do you want me
The
to?
twist in
You
the
can go.
story.
Speaking about twists and stories, I'm going to go with, even though I love David, I'm going to go with Mark. I am.
I get to be in the majority!
Because I love Mark's ending. Of the Gospels, Mark has the most unique ending. Now, you might not catch it at first when you just read it, but when you get to Mark chapter 16, the original manuscripts, the earliest manuscripts, end in verse 8, which is a bizarre ending. It's like the women are there, they're told by the angel, go and tell others, and then it says, and the women left, and they told nobody. The end. And it's such a weird ending. Now, other things were, the verses that you have there, usually there's a note that says these were added into some later manuscripts. Not that they're bad, not that they're wrong. They're kind of a summation of things in the other Gospels, of things that happened. But it's almost like people didn't like that ending. But that ending is really cool because it ends with that question of what are the women going to do? They're confused about this. What are they going to say about Jesus? And it kind of leaves us to write the ending of Mark. What are we going to do about the story of a risen Savior? Are we going to go and tell others, or will we tell nobody? So because of that unique ending and because of a lot of wonderful things in Mark, and since it's about Jesus, who is the highlight of the Bible, that's why I'm going to go with Mark, and why you're going to be wrong.
Nope.
Ethan?
Genesis. It's a
That's not an
three-way
option.
tie.
It's not an option.
It just, I think we should.
What, you want to throw things out now too?
No,
Like your mom?
I'm just thinking that we need to like stay here for a second and just admire me actually being in the majority this time.
Oh, Ethan wants to relish the fact
Yeah,
Relishing the moment.
that
That's great.
mom was wrong this time.
And you would
No.
be correct.
What? You're dropping Mark?
What?
Wait,
I'm
Who picked
confused.
what?
I picked Mark.
I picked 2
And
Samuel.
I'm picking second Sam.
Oh, woo!
Oh my word.
You are wrong.
We'll see. I will start getting. Hey, don't send me the hate mail or the complaints. Send it to these two. Talk to these two.
It's almost like that Genesis Deuteronomy thing where 2 Samuel is the only part where David is really at, and then like the story of Jesus, as it's different though, but it's also in the other ones.
Oh my goodness. I did not think that a gospel would go down in the first round. I thought we'd have gospels coming head to head. Wow.
Nope.
Surprise!
Happy birthday.
This is tragic. All right, well, okay, we'll go into the next round, I guess. This is what happens when you leave things in the hands
Of me.
of crazy people. All right, so let's go into the second round. We have 2 Kings coming up against 2 Samuel.
Oh, that's right. I was not prepared for this.
I think this
What
one's
were you
pretty
thinking was
easy.
gonna-
I don't know.
This
You
one-
picked both of these.
Yeah, this one's
I
pretty easy
know.
for me, so I'll go first. 2 Samuel, of course, David is one of my favorite characters, and I didn't think I'd be talking about him in the second round. I thought I'd be talking about Jesus and his amazing
the whole
story.
Bible is about Jesus.
It is, but
All
specifically about him in the Gospels. And I didn't think we would toss that story away, but apparently we did. So I'm going with 2 Samuel because it is about David, who is a king, not the best king in the Bible, because that would be, of course, King Jesus, who we just left in the first round. So, all right, you two. I'll let you battle it out now.
You can go.
I'm gonna go with 2 Samuel again. I forgot to mention that it's got Abigail in there. Abigail is one of the characters that you kind of really hope you're like someday, and I don't think she gets enough credit.
She doesn't. She's an amazing character in the Bible.
So,
So
2
2 for 2 Samuel. Ethan, is it a
I'm going with Mark.
repeat?
Mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 2 Samuel too.
All right. So 2 Samuel has made it into the next round. It will go up against Daniel. So we'll have kind of Daniel versus David in the next round. Amazingly enough, I thought it would be Daniel versus Mark. So
Nope.
I don't know. It could be possible that none of the Gospels make it out of the first round
We
with
have
these
3
two.
more to go.
Who knows? Who knows? The curveballs keep coming, folks. So you have to keep coming back to watch and to see how things get thrown upside down and backwards in this. Who would you have chose? Make a comment in the comment section. I will make sure these two get to read it. And we will continue Bible battles next time. Next time we have another gospel.
Let's vote it out right now.
Will they be
No.
able to claw their way past another amazing book? We have Luke going up against Psalms, the longest book in the Bible. Wonderful songs there. We'll talk about that. And then we have 2 Old Testament books, Zephaniah going up against Ecclesiastes.
You probably won't be able to find these ones, but
Zephaniah is a tricky book. It does hide in your Bible. But Ecclesiastes is an amazing book, and I wonder what we'll come up with next week. I can't predict. I thought today we'd have tons of agreement. Mark rolls through just fine. I thought it'd be hardest on me in my love for David, but no.
you love
You
David more.
learn something every day about how wrong people can be. So, keep talking about Bibles, about the Bible books. Keep reading your Bible and figure out which books you love the best, and then tell us what your choices would have been. We love to see that. We'll see you next time. Take care. Stay safe, everyone. And thanks for watching.